While we're waiting for everybody to jump on, we thought we would ask you a question. I'm Marilyn Ringo, together with Lauren Marlowe here from SpeechWorks.
Hi, everyone.
Before we officially begin, we just wanted to throw out a question and just if you would send us your answer in the chat box, and we'll take a look at those as we go through. And basically, we're going to be talking about virtual presence, executive virtual presence. What kind of challenges, or what's the biggest issue that you have? And I presume that you've all been doing your virtual meetings and virtual presentations for quite a while now. What are the biggest issues that you tend to run into in doing the virtual presence? Or here's another one. What bothers you most about how you or your colleagues look on those virtual meetings? I know I have a lot of complaints about that. Hello. Oh, I'm glad to see you on camera. That would be wonderful if you could all unmute your cameras. We'd love to see you. Yeah, thank you. Wonderful.
Yes, we don't care if you're in your sweatpants or if your kids or your pets want to come by and say hi during the middle of this. This is hopefully going to be an entertaining and interactive webinar.
And that was definitely one of the things that we continue to do virtual workshops at SpeechWorks, and that's one of the things that I always get a big kick out of when the little fuzzy dog shows up. Or the other day, I had somebody with their 2 twin babies rocking. I was wondering why he was rocking, and it turns out he had some twin babies there. Yeah. So let's see. It looks like some of you are in the office. Yes. Some of you are at home. Great. Let's see. Do we have any answers? Yes. People won't turn on their camera.
In fact, actually, Marilyn, this wasn't even on our agenda, but I'm going to throw it out there that one of the things that you can do to enhance your virtual presence and to make your meetings more interesting is to actually be on camera during them. It's difficult to make things more interesting when you're just staring at a name. So for all of you who've already turned on your cameras, thank you very much. For those of you who are still hesitant, or if you're eating lunch, we welcome you to turn on your cameras anyway. We don't mind, again, if your kids or your puppies or your sandwich wants to make an appearance during our time together today.
All right. Well, actually, it is officially the time to start, but we're going to take a look at some of your answers as we go through this. Welcome to our webinar, to the SpeechWorks webinar on how to maximize your virtual presentations, meetings. I am Marilyn Ringo. I'm an executive speech coach with SpeechWorks and also a former CNN news anchor, together with Lauren Marlowe, our CEO at SpeechWorks. We will be talking about and trying out some TV strategies, actually, that really will help your virtual presence. As many of us are heading back to the office, and how many of you are in the office? Just raise your hand. How many of you actually? Couple of you, others, yes. Lauren and I, by the way, are coming to you live from our home studios, in case you haven't figured that out. That's, I don't know about you guys, but I'm always moving around the house trying to find the best light, the best situation. In any case, a lot of us are heading back to the office, whether it's part-time or even full-time. So it may be time to say farewell to those sweatpants, but we're not even close to saying goodbye to the virtual meetings and the virtual presentations. Virtual meetings are here to stay. I think we all found out, and your bosses probably found out that, gosh, a lot of times they work really well. But there are a lot of challenges with dealing with this computer situation. And we're going to talk about how to manage some of those challenges. As one of our colleagues, Joey Asher, says, all of a sudden we found out that we're all TV news anchors now. And isn't that the truth? So we're going to be talking about 3 key TV techniques that will help you maximize your virtual presence. Those 3 techniques are, number 1, eye contact and energy. Number 2, camera angles and lighting. And 3, telling short stories. Hi, Lauren. Were you waving at some of our?
No, I was counting for you.
Oh, thank you.
2, 3.
We love threes at SpeechWorks. I don't know if any of you have actually been through the SpeechWorks program. Anybody been through? Yes. QB Tech.
Anna.
Very good.
Anna's
So
been through it.
you know all about threes, right?
Yes, it was such an engaging time with me and my team at SpeechWorks, and I'm so grateful for the time. I've been utilizing my skills, especially with hand movements and keeping things open. I gotta say, great experience, and happy to be here to apply it to a virtual setting since I'm in virtual meetings literally all day long.
Still, right? Have you gone back? You gone back to the office?
So no, actually, we all work from home. And that was pre-COVID. And so we were already kind of in the virtual meeting space. But now we have almost entirely gotten rid of in-person meetings, and it seems to be working well, but always looking to improve this process.
Yeah, let's start improving that virtual presence. And the number one thing is that first point, eye contact and energy. Now, I'm taking a look around and you're all doing a pretty nice job of looking at your computer cameras, which is it's an alien creature, even to people such as myself, who were actually professional on camera people for a while. It's just that you're dealing with this little pinpoint. Do most of you look at your pinpoint computer camera? Is that what most of you have up there? Some people have actual big old cameras attached to their computers, but it's a little strange. But here's the key, and I think I'm seeing some of you already doing this. The key is absolutely to be looking at that camera, just kind of focusing in on that camera when you are speaking to the people on the other side of that computer, because this eye contact is very much about connecting and engaging. And to give your listener the idea that you are connecting and engaging, you really do have to look at that camera. It just feels weird. You're not quite sure, how's this going to work? Because you want to look down at the screen, do you not? In fact, one of you folks said, how do you... less synergy due to lack of nonverbal cues. We want to read our listeners' faces, and we do get a lot of cues from what's happening on their faces. But Lauren has a little exercise for you, a little game to play to just prove how important this looking into the camera is, the computer camera.
Yes. So just to really drive home and illustrate the point here, I want to take a minute and first, I want to ask all of you why you think eye contact is so important when you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody. Let's raise hand raises. How about a little audience interaction here?
There's Chris. Chris has his hand up.
Chris.
Chris, are you
Walsh.
unmuted? Chris?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I guess I got to learn that lesson too.
That's probably one of the things that bugs people a lot.
I was thinking that the eye communication, it shows that somebody that you're paying attention, you care, you're concerned, you're interested.
Yeah.
You're engaged.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Julia Mead, do you have anything else?
Trust. If you don't make eye contact, people don't trust you.
That's right. Both of those points are taken from not only my point of view as a speaker, but also thinking of it from the point of view of your listener, right? So if you're not making eye contact with your listener, are you building trust? And are you making a connection? The answer is not really. So just to give you a little demonstration, I want from the whole group here, I want one of you. All right, I'm looking at one of you. Can you raise your hand if you think I'm looking at you? All right, we got no one's hand raised. Does everyone see that?
Marlene,
No one's hand is raised. Okay, so now we're going to try example number 2. All right, now I have picked one of you. Raise your hand if you think I'm looking at you.
There you go.
All right, we see a lot more hands coming up, right? everyone in the room should feel like I'm looking at you. You know why? Because I'm looking at the camera.
Oh, look at those cute little hands up there. Very good.
Yeah.
They raised their hands.
What I like to tell people is that although this is awkward for me, right? It's awkward for me to look at this little green dot at the top of my screen because I'm more inclined and it's more comfortable for me to look down and to see all your smiling faces while we are here today. But at the end of the day, in a virtual setting, it's not about me. It's about you. It's about the connection that you feel for me while I'm trying to, provide you a persuasive piece of information that I want you to come along with me with. And so in order for me to do that, I have to make the experience well for you. And I do that by giving you eye contact. And I do that in a virtual setting by looking at the camera. One of the things I do, sorry, Marilyn, just one last thing. One of the things I do from home as a way of reminding myself of where to look is I have a picture that I like to oftentimes pin up at the top of my computer so I have a face to look at. Or we have a colleague that puts a sticky note that says, look here, and it helps. It helps remind.
It does help, even for those of us who do this all the time and even had, some professional experience doing it. You have to constantly be reminded of where am I looking when I'm talking? And taking a page from the TV anchor's book, yes, we did primarily look into the camera lens, but occasionally, like when we changed a story, we would look down. So if you have to look down, check your notes, that's fine, but just always come right back up to that camera. But that's, you don't want to be looking down too much, or certainly when you're listening to someone, that's fine. You can look at them on the screen at that point, because you do want to be able to read what's happening. But primarily, you're going to be wanting to, and it takes practice. Look at that little computer camera. I forgot to say when we began, please feel free to jump in, ask questions as we go through this. Oh, good. So Melanie says she's going to try it. Absolutely. Feel free to ask any questions. If you have a question, probably the best way to go about that is to put it in the chat room. Okay, so we're going to just quickly, Lauren, do you have anything else to say about eye contact? Otherwise, we'll move on to
some energy.
Okay, let's talk about energy. I'll tell you what, this two-dimensional screen sucks the energy right out of you. You have to jump across that screen to your people on the other side, the people that you're talking to. And you can't just, I'm hearing somebody having a meeting in the background.
Conversation in the background, yeah.
Got a little competition. You can mute your audio unless you're talking. How about that? There we go. Okay. We were talking about the energy, and two-dimensional screens tend to suck it out of you. So you've got to kick that energy level up a couple of notches when you're in these kinds of situations. Very true for in-person situations as well, but more so for these situations. So what are some of the things?
Hey, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Mark Apple, do you mind muting? I can hear your conversation. Hey, Mark Apple, do you mind muting? Okay, thanks. Sorry, I couldn't hear anything else anyone was saying.
Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about energy. Energy. Where are some of the places that energy shows up, particularly on your computer? What do you think?
Anna had a statement. What'd you say there, Anna?
Your face. Number one, face.
Your face.
Look what Anna is doing with her face. She is lighting it up. She's lighting up that screen with a smile. Now, not everything that you talk about is going to give you the opportunity to smile. Maybe you're firing somebody. I don't know. It might be bad news. But we're saying at least take your face out of park. In business, we tend to be the more conservative versions of ourselves. And what happens is, I am serious, this is serious. And so I'm just not going to crack a smile. I'm not going to do anything. So we're saying, raise your eyebrows. Lauren, how's your eyebrow smile these days? Yeah, there you go. Raise those eyebrows. Really important. This, again, is one of those hardwired human connection things that we have. It's something, we'd rather listen to somebody who has a pleasant look on their face, who looks like they're excited to be there. So it shows up in your face. Thank you, Anna. Where else does it show up? Energy.
Jessica.
Is it your hands?
Sure.
Yes.
Spirit fingers.
Spirit fingers. Yes. And your body movement. Just because you're seated doesn't mean you have to stay planted. We can still move our hands. We can still make important hand gestures when we're really trying to make a point. We can still lean in when we were, trying to draw in our audience, or you can still use your body even though we are sitting in a chair.
The trick with that, though, is be aware of not getting too close to that camera so that we see these giant hands. So essentially, and we're going to talk about this in just another minute, but essentially you want kind of a head and shoulders look. So it does give you a little room to get some of that energy in there. When you're emphasizing something, you can certainly gesture. It has to be, head and shoulders, basically. Nobody's going to see your gestures if they're down there next to your thighs. But yeah, and so somebody here said tone of voice. Who was that? That is Shay. Yes, absolutely. Your tone of voice. How do you sound? Do you sound like you believe what you're talking about? Do you sound interested? If you don't sound that way, you can't possibly expect your listener to feel that way. And we do want them to buy into you. We want them to buy into your ideas. Maybe you're asking for money. Who knows what it is that you're asking for? But yeah, this is a great idea. We want to hear that in your voice. So that's another place where you really want to kick up that energy from what you're typically doing. Anybody else have? We've got face, voice, body. Somebody said something?
No, I was just reading from the
Okay.
from the comments. We've got smile, using your face,
Right.
voice.
Yeah, and this is something when we do our virtual workshops, we spend a lot of time. We do these exercises to help really pull up that energy. It's a little something we call passion switch. Anna, do you remember doing that? Did you do the passion switch? And you talk about something you're very excited about, and then we have you switch over to a part of a business presentation, and we try to get you to transfer some of that energy, and it's like night and day. Anybody else have an experience besides Anna with SpeechWorks? Anna, you can be yes, Cheryl. Yeah. Do you remember doing that exercise? The passion switch? Nope. Okay.
Peggy Berg, you raised your hand. You've been in
Peggy.
the workshop.
I did coaching with Marilyn more than a class, and it was fabulous.
Thank you, Peggy. I'm so glad you joined us. Thank you. Peggy is an executive who had to do a bunch of speeches because she was getting all these awards all over the place. So she came in and we worked specifically on that. We worked on the energy, did we not, Peggy?
Absolutely. The energy and the eye contact and exactly the things we're talking about here, only live from stage.
Oh, yeah, little challenging there. Okay, we do need to move on. We want to make sure that we get everything in here. So that is eye contact and energy. Now, the next thing that we want to pay attention to in terms of good virtual presence is your camera, your computer camera angle, and your lighting. I'm looking at some of your angles here, and a lot of them are looking pretty good. Essentially, you want to have that computer above, or at least your computer camera slightly above your eyes, so that the computer is not looking up your nose, or you're not doing. Lauren, would you like to demonstrate?
Demonstrations.
Yes, demonstrate the Wizard of Oz floating head. You get real close.
We've been through meetings with people on the other end like this. Yes.
You get real close to the screen and all you see is a head, or sometimes you see the ceiling fan moving around. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Ceiling fan going on, or the tiles on your ceiling. Okay, so we want you to be aware of how you're positioning. And if you're not already positioned that way, we want you to position
There's another one. There's another one, Marilyn, that everyone should be mindful of, and it's this one. right?
Looking at that second computer where you're looking at the screen on the second computer?
I feel like I'm watching the Zoom webinar because it's over here on my second screen, but my camera's over here and everyone is looking at the side of my face.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So
remember,
you're a
you should
listener.
face that camera. So I don't know about you guys, but we recommend that you lift up your computer if it's a laptop. For instance, whoops, I don't know if this will show. I have one of these things, which is great. Just makes sure that we don't have the Wizard of Oz floating head, and you're not looking at my nostrils, this is not the most flattering environment in the world, I must say. Not my favorite environment. So we do what we can. We do our best with the angles and so the idea, as I mentioned just a minute ago, is to, and this goes back to the TV thing. You'll note if you still watch TV and you see mostly everybody, if they're talking to somebody or if it's a news anchor, they're usually, in fact, I could probably get a little more head and shoulders. Usually it's that head and shoulder. Like, it gives you a chance, as I said, to get your whole body into it. And it avoids all those Wizard of Oz things and all the other things that we don't like. So just be aware of that. If you don't want to, one of these stands, these computer stands, is on Amazon for about, I think mine was like $30 or something like that. But if you don't have one of those, or you don't want to buy one, you can just pile up a bunch of books, tall books. I noticed, when we were watching all these celebrities doing their interviews from their homes during the pandemic, a lot of them had their computers on books. The main idea is to raise that computer up. Any questions about anything that we talked about? Who's guilty? Jessica says she's guilty. Guilty of the
looking on the bigger screen that I have instead of directly.
Yeah. Again, okay, I see you're wearing glasses, Jessica. Is that your computer, or is it a light that we see a reflection of in your glasses?
I think it's the computer. I'm in a room that has very bad lighting.
Right. And so that leads us to the next thing. We talk about computer angle, computer lighting. I'll tell you what, lighting, I'm looking at my light. Lighting makes all the difference in the world. If we are in a room with overhead lights, those fluorescent lights, they create these awful shadows that make you look like the Walking Dead. Have you ever noticed that? You want to be face on to some nice diffused lighting. The best lighting that there is a window, but not everybody is set up for a window. I actually found this little space today because it's facing my window. This is a dining room window at, what time is it? 12:22. And in addition to that, I have, you've all seen those ring lights, right? They work really well. Let me show you the difference. Right?
So Marilyn, we have a question here on how to mitigate the glare in glasses.
Yes. Okay. I take my glasses off if I don't absolutely need them, but I understand that many of you do. I need them to read. Okay. So you can see the glare now, right? What I do is, if I need them, I will just tilt them down a little bit. And at that angle, are you seeing a reflection at this point?
No, reflection gone.
Yeah. Mostly, if I don't need these glasses, I will just take them off, because I know that could be a distraction. That can be something that gets in the way. Also, Jessica, are the glasses that you're wearing blue light glasses? That's why we're seeing a lot of the computer. So are you wearing them specifically because you don't want to be bothered or strained by the blue light?
Yes.
Yeah. If you've got a particularly important meeting or presentation to do, I would recommend taking those off unless you need them to actually read or see something. Because for some reason, I don't know, maybe some of you are scientifically, you know what you're talking about with science here. For some reason, those blue light glasses just really show up blue when you're on the computer. So I would kind of tone those down a little bit. Okay. So that is camera angles. We are just scooting right along here. Camera angles and lighting. And I know we've only got a short time here. And if any of you have any questions that we haven't been able to get to, please feel free to contact us. And I think Lauren will tell you how to do that. It says if you mount the ring light on top of a monitor, then it usually won't glare in your glasses because it's high enough. Doesn't work with a lower place laptop. Interesting. And who is that from? That's from Sarah. Thank you. The only reason I have my light down just a little bit is because I always like to feel the light on my face. I was always afraid that if you put it up a little too high, it would get the top half of my face. Is that not happening with you, Sarah? Where are you, Sarah?
No, my light and my camera are on top of a monitor.
Oh, good. Well, that is a great technique. Thank you for sharing that. I will try and figure out how to do that in the future. And you know what else I use? And this is when I travel. If I travel, I've got these little selfie lights that you can just attach to your computer. And they kind of sort of do the trick. But the thing is, you want to fill out those shadows that will otherwise show up on the computer. You don't want to look like The Walking Dead while you're doing these things. I want to move right along because we just have a couple of minutes left to our third point. And this is tell tight stories. You know, we had the eye contact and energy, the computer angles and lighting, but it's more than just how you look and how you sound. It is, what are you saying? And are you giving us a monologue, or are you giving us an oratorio here? We hope not. In fact, this is, again, very much like TV journalists. When I was doing TV, we had maximum of 3 minutes to do a story in, even though we were out all day long shooting video and getting stories, interviewing people. We had to boil it down to the key points. And of course, we had lots of great video to go with that, but we basically boiled it down. And so we actually have an approach that will help you do that. It is called the SpeechWorks formula. And you can take parts of that. Basically, is getting that information down to 3 key points. Right, Lauren?
That's correct. 3 key points, right? So if we're going to be talking, in story, we talking about the formula or storytelling?
Well, no, it's the story that you're actually telling is something that you set up with a hook, with your message, and with 3 key points. Essentially, you've got a little narration going. Storytelling itself is something in its by itself, and I think we have a webinar on that. In fact, we have a number of webinars. You can go on speechworks.net and see some of the webinars on this approach and on this formula and on this organizational piece that will help you tighten up and make sure that you get to the point. This is important for your actual meeting information or presentation, but especially for when you deal with Q&A. How are you answering those questions? Because when you are particularly in this computer environment, in this virtual environment, there is limited time and limited listener attention. You are going to lose those. Oh, who's calling? You're going to lose some of those people. And your goal is to get these people to stay tuned to you. And this is one of those really key things. And as I said, there are a number of...
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joey Asher. I'm here with my colleague, JD Crocodile.
What?
And
I have no idea where that's coming from.
That was Joey. He was that was another webinar. You might actually see Joey and JD on that webinar talking about this organizational approach, the handling Q&A, keeping those answers short, telling stories. All of that really matters in these kinds of situations, particularly because of the limited time and the limited attention. Your listener on the other side of that computer can check their email a lot easier, right? When they're not there in person. All of that is really important. As we head towards finishing up here,
Yeah, Marilyn, I wanted to take a couple seconds and make sure we address some of the comments that were put in the chat earlier on in the meeting that people have with frustrations about making these more interesting. Julia talked about people turning their camera on, and Megan mentioned participation. So two great strategies for dealing with that is something that maybe, hopefully you were on early enough to watch us model a little bit of, and it's simply just to ask people to turn their cameras on. Someone else has down here, people multitasking because we're virtual and they feel like they can do two things at once, sit in a meeting, turn the camera off and keep answering emails. Well, they can't do that with their camera on. And if you can get them to turn their camera on and pay attention to the meeting, then you're going to have at least some more, at least you'll know that they're listening, or you can see if they're not. To get more participation, actually calling on people. You can ask the question, count to 7 in your head to see if you can get any volunteers to participate with you. But if not, go ahead and call somebody. Get some, bring people in the room. And the more that people are participating and being called on, the more other people will feel inclined to join in as well. And that is a way that you as the speaker can help facilitate a more active meeting.
Good. We have a couple of people dropping off. They have to go to their 12:30 meeting. So we'll wrap it up here. Lauren?
Well, just to recap what we talked about today, the most important thing, I think, of everything that we've talked about is eye contact. That's how we connect with one another. So remember to remember to look at their cameras.
Stare at your camera.
Stare at your camera. Look at it. Give all of your love and attention to the camera when you're in a virtual meeting, when you're speaking to your audience. And make sure you make the choice to bring the energy necessary to make your voice and your physical appearance more appealing, and to convey to your audience that you are passionate and you believe in what you're talking about, because that's the best way that you're going to be able to bring them on board with you, so that they are convinced by what you're saying and you can persuade them to come along. Second, we want to make sure that we've got some nice virtual presence physically within our screen. We have appropriate lighting going on. And then third, we want to make sure we have an organized message where we're addressing what they want, what we want, how we're going to give them what they want, our 3 key messages if we have them, and then some nice tight stories to supplement that. So we keep our message with the date, enough information to make it interesting, but not too much information that we lose their attention.
And as we said, you can go on our website, speechworks.net, and find other webinars, maybe not quite as great as this one, right? You'll find other webinars that will address a lot of these things in particular. And we thank you very much. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really enjoyed you being here, and come see us at SpeechWorks.
Very good. Have a great Friday and a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for your time.